Okay, we are down here at Raptors practice. Once again, joining the show, Garrett Temple. Appreciate your time. Yeah, how was the break for you?
It
We
was
saw
great.
you. We saw you pop up at Dennis's little birthday party.
Yeah, man. The family, my kids, Dennis's kids, Junior turning 5, so that was great to be able to be around them. Obviously, Dennis is my guy, so it was great to see him again. We'll see him again tomorrow. Obviously, I'll probably holler at him tonight. But the break was great, man. Much needed. It was my first time in probably the last 6 years not going to All Star, at least
Okay.
for a day or two. Being on the executive committee and having to attend those meetings. So just doing it virtually was nice. We went to Dominican Republic, my wife, my kids, and Jama was actually at the same resort as us. So with his
Was
kids
that
and
not
his wife.
planned?
So that was great. No, it wasn't planned, but
Okay.
I found out after booking that a lot of people were going to DR, and Jama and I ended up at the same resort. Very kid friendly. It was a great time. Great time.
That's awesome, man. That's it's a better story than my break, so we're not going to talk about what I did on my break.
Right.
Okay, so I wanted to chat, a bit about the Raptors, but mostly I actually wanted to talk about this Black History Month. Really wanted to get into your family history, right? And it's a story that you've told a few times, but I would love to have the Toronto audience also understand sort of your background, your history. It's very storied. But actually, just a quick question, because I was chatting with both Masai and then Bobby, just earlier, and I told them I was going to interview you. And I was asking him the question, like, whenever you want to hang it up, whenever you're done, do you want to go front office? Do you want to go in coaching? Like, what do you want to do? Do you still want to be in the game? And if so, like, what do you want to do? Because I feels like they were both confident you can do either one.
Yeah, I'll answer that question first. It's definitely something that's been on my mind. Something that I think I'll have a few opportunities, a couple of opportunities either way. I do want to stay around the game in some capacity. I think that'll be great. My son loves basketball. Family loves basketball. The only downside is the travel. It's having a family. It's not easy on a family, on a marriage. So that's something I'm gonna discuss with my wife and my kids. But it's definitely something I've thought about doing. Something I've researched. I've talked to former players that have gone into the front office, former players that have become coaches, and just see their mindset and see if our values align and how that will work. So it's definitely something I'm thinking about. Front office or coaching. It's really either one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, those two are both confident you can do either one, and I think that speaks to the time and the history that you put into the game. So, speaking about history, again, because it's Black History Month, really wanted to talk about just your family history in particular, and I wanted to start with your grandfather. All right, Collis. I think. Well, I want you to tell this story about sort of him going to LSU and ultimately being denied to go into the master's program, and sort of the history there, because it's 3 generations of you guys at LSU now.
Yeah, it's actually so I'll have to correct that.
Okay.
Him trying to go to LSU. So he went to my grandfather, Garrett Temple Sr., went to Southern University, which is the HBCU, the historically black college in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In 1930, I want to say, is when he attended there. And he got his degree in agriculture. And he tried to go get his master's in the late 40s.
Okay.
He tried to attend LSU when he was 30-something years old, late 20s, early 30s. And LSU denied him because he was black. And Thurgood Marshall had a lawsuit against a few of the public universities in the South that were denying people entrance because of the color of their skin. My grandfather got wind of it. He was about to, I guess, maybe add LSU to the lawsuit. And I don't know how, but the Louisiana legislature found out, and they approached my grandfather and told him, we'll pay for you to, we'll create some type of grant to pay for your master's degree, just as long as you don't put LSU into the into this lawsuit. And my grandfather at that time had 4 kids. My dad is the youngest of 6. He's the only boy, so my dad wasn't born yet. And then my grandfather decided, okay, you know what, Michigan State has a great program that I'd love to go to. So he started going in the summers up to Michigan State, and his school was paid for. And by the time my dad got to age 3 or 4, early 50s, my grandfather had finished, and he my dad remembers going to Michigan State to watch my grandfather walk across the stage and get his master's degree.
Wow.
So that's his story, which is an amazing backdrop to my dad's story of becoming his senior year, going to school with white people for the first time in his life.
Right. Okay.
As a senior in high school.
Right. And this is in the South.
This is in the South, in Kenwood, Louisiana.
Yeah.
So he was, 16 years old, starting school, 16, 17, first time in his life going to school with white people. If anybody has ever seen the movie, remember the Titans.
Yeah.
He played football and basketball, the football team. You start off workouts before school starts, and they were able to create a bond. He starred on the football team. They went undefeated and won the state championship, just like the movie.
Okay, so hold on, because I read this story and then I was like, I realized I never watched Remember the Titans. So I actually last night I took the time out to watch the film just to make sure that we're on the same level. So who is your dad supposed to be, or which character is your dad based off of?
No, he wasn't based off. So the film
okay.
isn't based off my dad's team. The film is based off a team in Virginia.
Okay,
but my
gotcha.
dad, when he first watched the movie, he said,
"This is basically
this is exactly how my senior year was."
Okay.
And this, there was, because he went to an all-black school up until his junior year in high school, so they had a great team.
Mm-hmm.
And they had great athletes at the white school as well. And it just so happened that Britney Spears, her dad was the star quarterback.
Wow.
So
it's a small world, man.
Yeah, very small world. They actually had their, I want to say, 50-year reunion 2 years ago.
Okay.
But they won a state championship, and my grandfather had the forethought of understanding what my dad going to LSU would mean to African Americans in Louisiana, but also in the South. So when the governor, then this is the crazy part, it wasn't the head coach that recruited my dad or even the athletic director. It was the governor of the state.
Wow.
That recruited my dad to come play at LSU. And I guess they probably thought they had to, put their best foot forward since they denied my grandfather. And my grandfather,
At least you guys were old.
Yeah,
man.
he put his ego aside and he understood how, like I said, how much this would mean to people that look like us. And he felt like my dad was ready. He had been raised right. And my dad went there, and it wasn't easy for him. He'll tell a lot of stories.
Yeah.
He'll tell a lot of stories about the times he wanted to go back home. He grew up about an hour and a half from LSU's campus. And the guy named David Duke, who was at one point the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, they had a couple of run-ins, verbal run-ins with each other on campus. David Duke was a junior. My dad was a freshman, so...
When you say that, it's like a debate club kind of thing?
Not debate club. No,
they
they
run up on each other.
So they had something called Free Speech Alley.
Okay.
On campus, and it was right near the Union, and people used to just talk about things.
Okay.
Especially in the 70s, it was really a lot to talk about, and people really had their opposing views on certain things. Obviously, and my dad was 6'8" with a big afro. Was very proud of who he was as a black man, and obviously that may have gone against what David Duke's views are. So
I think we know that. Yeah, I think we know that.
But it was a very difficult time for my father, but he would not change it for the world. And he grew a lot as a man and as a person while he was there.
So for you growing up, I guess I'm not sure how much of this you remember or how much of this you were around, but like, what kind of impression did that make on you? The struggles that your family had to go through?
A great deal. Again, like I said, that my dad was never the type. My dad and mom, they were never the type to shy away from speaking truth about the social fabric of America, and the things that as black people in America we have to, especially black men. I was raised with my two older brothers. My sister was born when I was 16. So as black men growing up, we wanted to be educated. We wanted to know that we had to do things a little more detailed and better than everybody else in order to make sure we got certain advantages. And, we understood what life was about. So, again, he told us a lot of stories about what happened back then and how him going there has set us up for certain situations. But we understood what his sacrifice meant and the legacy that he was trying to leave.
So you mentioned the importance of education. I think last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were trying to complete your LSATs and maybe go to law school, pursue more education there. We also obviously take a lot of time out of your day to in your involvement with the NBPA. Are these things all directly related? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think so. I think education is a big piece for my family. My dad was the first person to kind of mentioned to me about going to law school. He's been, my dad and mom are both, they pushed me. They've pushed me since I was young.
Yeah.
In school, in everything that I do. My mom has a saying, whatever you do, be the best at it. Do it to the best of your ability. So, I definitely think that's resonated with me, and trying to challenge myself, on that type of level where, I have to challenge my mind as well as my body is something that I get from my parents.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking to the NBPA in particular, I mean, this is something where, if I understand it correctly, you guys aren't even, it's not like, you're not doing this for compensation. You're doing this because you want to represent and advance, the players and everything that you guys can do there. And of course, you just got reelected as well to a new term. I think for me, the question is, the new CBA on our end, on the media side, we're still trying to comprehend it, and so we're still trying to understand, the new nuances that have come into it. From what I understand, it does, and I understand it's a very, very basic understanding, but it's almost like a soft hard cap in a way, right? There's a lot of limitations to what teams can do. Take me through some of the negotiations there in terms of the players accepting this and some of the the push and pull factors as to why you guys agreed to certain terms in this current deal.
Yeah. So I mean, the CBA is crazy long, and I can't lie and say that I've read the entire thing. But the biggest part is that there were situations where the governors, as well as us, we both enjoyed the area we were in terms of the amount of money we were bringing in as a league, where the league was going as a whole. And we wanted to make sure that there were certain things that we wanted, there were certain things that they wanted. We had negotiables, non-negotiables that we weren't willing to give up.
What were those?
And we did not have to give those up. Hard cap, specifically a hard cap. No hard cap. At the end of the day, that's one thing that makes our league, our players, be able to move, be able to do certain things that they want to do.
Right.
And the players at the end of the day in our game are very recognizable. The fans know them. A lot of times in the NBA, you have fans of teams, but nowadays a lot of people are more fans of players than they are of teams. So the NBA understands that it's a business. They want to keep players happy as well as make it profitable for the governors. It's a business as well. So I think Adam understood that, people talk about players, movement, and players having control. At the end of the day, the players are the product, and fans go as we go. So the non-negotiable main thing was hard cap. This was about a year and a half. It was 2 years ago. They really never pushed on any other non-negotiable that we had.
Okay. What about I think there was talk of maybe they, you get it back to you can come straight from high school.
Yeah, so there was talk about that. There wasn't something that the players were pushing crazy. That's not something that the owners were pushing crazy.
Okay. So you just left it as is, yeah.
We left it as is. Again, and this is something that can easily be revisited. That's the thing about a CBA. There are amendments. So you want to nail down the things that for sure they wanted, for sure we wanted. You want that to get nailed down. The other things can always happen. Because the CBA happened a year ago, doesn't mean, coming out of high school won't happen until the next CBA.
Sure,
that can be changed.
Got you. Well, I think for you as well, I was wanting to ask about just the bubble, right? Because I think that was the time where so much was going on, right? COVID had just really come on, and there was so much importance. And at that time, there was so much fear as to is it going to be safe, right? What are the logistics? You guys are all just getting put into this whole thing. And I think you spoke out just a little bit about it. I think rightfully so. You were a little nervous in terms of just how it was all going to be. I mean, take me through some of those conversations back then.
Nah,
when you
no
think back
question.
on it.
Now, that was probably the most time I've spent on the phone on Zoom, just trying to get a feel for where we're at as a executive committee. We talked at least once a day, and at the same time, we were trying to find a new executive director. I'm looking at Jennifer Quinn's Walt Disney World Orlando NBA restart badge, and that makes me think about that.
She also put this here, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't know what this is about.
I'll tell you what that is later.
Okay, right.
But it was great conversations. It was great to have guys on. Kyle Lowry is not a part of the executive committee, but he was on a lot of calls. Just we're getting feedback from players and teammates, because at the end of the day, this is our livelihood. Some guys are set for life and didn't need to play another game. Some guys needed their money.
Yeah.
Some guys were trying to make a team and wanted to get a chance to play. So you have all of that, all of those dynamics on top of the health, whether or not you can get COVID. We didn't understand the long-term effects. We still don't understand the long-term effects of COVID. I personally everybody had personal situations. I personally had a wife that was pregnant at the time. So, me leaving for 2 months, 3 months, some people that have kids may say, well, it depends on when you left. That might have been the best time for you to leave so she could be by herself. But not wanting to bring back anything. So a big thing for me was making sure the bubble, if we did a bubble, that no people could come in without being tested multiple times, because I did not want to bring anything back to my wife.
Of course.
So it was a lot to talk about, a lot about the restart, a lot about the money that was going to be taken out. How much money were we going to be able to make at the restart? How much money had we made up until now? Because the escrow and, so many things that are pretty convoluted that needed to be worked out. And I think, you have to applaud Adam for what he was able to do to get that back, and applaud us as players for taking that chance. And I think we were the first professional team, professional sports.
It was
professional sports league to go back and provide that entertainment at a time where it was needed. It was so needed, man. And it was needed for us as well, loving the game. But when I got back home, I definitely watched. And I understood what that respite was. Was able to give people in a time where, obviously, there were a lot more things more important than basketball going on, but it's always nice to be able to have a little time to just, lay your head down and be entertained.
Well, I know, banter aside, I know the Raptors, you actually played against the Raptors in that series. I mean, people don't remember that Raptors-Brooklyn series all that much. Well, I want to ask, too, because this is the most important question I had, and I know that PR is kind of outside right now. I appreciate their patience on this. I think it's an important topic. It was I think it was the NBA in terms of the modern age, we're talking about the last 20, 30 years, biggest moment in terms of NBA players stepping up for activism, right? It was the height of the Black Lives Matter protests, players boycotting games, essentially a wildcat strike by the Magic, by the Bucks, Raptors, Celtics. Game 1, I remember they didn't play it on time. They said, we're not going to come. This is way too much for us right now. As someone who was in the union at that time, how'd you guys handle that? And how'd you guys support the players' rights to do that?
No, it was amazing. And not to mention, we talked about all the things union-wise that was going on. We had so much going on, in the world. As you mentioned, George Floyd and others. So just in general, socially, in America, things were in an uproar, especially for Black America. And that was another reason why I I pushed, I was a proponent of us going down there to be able to speak on things that we cared about, because people were going to watch. We were going to have more eyes than ever before. And I think guys really took advantage of that. And, a friend of mine, George Hill, was a really big proponent of Milwaukee not playing that game. I actually, again, like you said, y'all swept us when I was in Brooklyn, so I was home when they set out of their playoff game. But we were on the phone talking, and we, again, we have a great commissioner that allowed us to do that and found ways around us speaking our truth and being able to voice our opinions on certain things. and at least get the message out there. And then we'll go back to playing, but at least the message is out there. They understand how we feel about what's going on. And I think that's the biggest thing of what a protest is supposed to do. It's supposed to shed light on something.
Yeah.
And then after that, there are certain things that you can do. So for us, being able to do what we did in the bubble and create that, the monies that go towards the certain things they go towards now in terms of minority things, I think that was really big for us. And I agree with you. It was probably a turning point in our league.
I think, honestly, I guess I'm never really thanking an NBA player for doing that, but you guys really like stepped up, took command of the situation. And I know there's obviously lots of business partners, everything like that. It's not you can act on everything you want to do all the time, but it was a real important seminal moment in sports. And I just hope that same like momentum and that engagement can just be like sustained throughout. And I'm sure you feel the same way. But
no question.
We run out of time. We could talk for a long time about this, but I appreciate you as always, man, and best of luck with the rest of the season. Maybe we'll have you on again, and we'll talk more about this subject.
Appreciate you, my guy.